Howdy, friend. Sam Houston here, hoping you're living in high cotton. And if you're lucky enough to be in Texas, I know you're most of the way there. Now enjoy your daily dose of Texas history and Texas pride.
Howdy, friend. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit podcast and your Texas History Roundup for November 24th. In 1835, the Texas Rangers were officially established, one of the first actions of the Provisional Council. In 1823, Stephen F. Austin had hired 10 men for a punitive expedition against a band of Indians, and this was the inspiration for the formal organization established by the Provincial Council. There were 56 men in 3 companies, each with a captain and 2 lieutenants subordinate to the commander-in-chief of the army. The pay was $1.25 per day, and the men supplied their own mounts, equipment, arms, and rations. The Rangers began receiving worldwide fame as a result of their effective participation in the war with Mexico in 1846. In 1868, Scott Joplin was born at Cave Springs near Linden. He was proficient with the banjo at the age of 7 and began playing ragtime after he moved to St. Louis. His first ragtime pieces were published in 1899, one of the most popular being Maple Leaf Rag. He later integrated ragtime into ballet and opera. Joplin settled in New York City in 1911 and died there in 1917. His music was featured in the 1973 movie The Sting, and his featured works were published by the New York Public Library in 1971. In 1874, Joseph F. Glidden of DeKalb, Illinois, got a patent for fencing material, which consisted of barbs wrapped around a single wire strand and secured by a second twisted strand. It became the most successful of hundreds of barbed wire designs. In 1876, Glidden sold his interests to Washburn & Moen, which later was absorbed by the U.S. Steel Corporation. The first Glidden wire was sold in Texas in 1875, but John W. Betamillion Gates was the first to truly exploit sales in Texas, after he held a demonstration in San Antonio's Alamo Plaza in 1876 to show the wire's effectiveness in turning and holding cattle. He touted the wire as being light as air, stronger than whiskey, and cheap as dirt. In 1921, likely the first broadcast of a football game was from Texas A&M via call letters 5XB, now WTAW. Using Morse code with a set of abbreviations for various football situations designed by student Harry Saunders and Coach Dana X. Bible, a play-by-play account of the game was sent to all ham radio stations broadcasting the contest. The Morse code was decoded and the play-by-play was then aired over ham relay stations and announced to fans over a public address system. This game between Texas A&M and UT Austin ended in a 0-0 tie. In 1927, Texas A&M's Joel Hunt ended the season with a 28-7 win over UT Austin and an 8-0-1 season record. His 128 points scored as a senior was a long-time Southwest Conference record, and his 30 touchdowns and 224 points was a Texas A&M record for nearly 50 years. There was no national football champion named at the time, but since then, at least one computer analysis has the Aggies as the national champions for 1927. Hunt's greatest personal game was against undefeated SMU in November 5th of that year, when he scored 3 touchdowns, punted for a 40-yard average, and intercepted 4 passes in leading the Aggies to a 39-13 victory. Hunt is a member of the College Football Hall of Fame, and after a short professional playing career, Hunt coached for the 28s at the high school, college, and professional level. He coached for 28 years at every level, and he died in Teague in 1978. In 1933, the Texas legislature adopted a state flower song, Bluebonnets, written by Julia D. Booth and Laura C. Crockett. Also in the 1930s, the Highway Department began a landscaping and beautification program that extended the flower's range. Due largely to the agency's efforts, bluebonnets now grow along many roads and highways throughout the state. The flower usually blooms in late March and early April, and is most profuse in limestone outcroppings from north-central Texas to Mexico. In 1943, Doris Dory Miller, the first African-American hero of World War II, died on the USS Lipscomb Bay when it was torpedoed during the Battle of the Gilbert Islands. Miller was born in Willow Grove in 1919. In 1956, Silas E. Eddie Southern won a silver medal in the 400-meter hurdles at the Melbourne Olympics. He was born in Dallas in 1938, and at UT Austin, he was a member of the 880-yard relay team that set a world record at the 1957 Texas Relays. He anchored 440-yard relay teams and set world records twice. Ironically, at the 1956 Olympics, 400-meter hurdles was the only big meet in which he lost. Teammate Glenn Davis beat him with a time of 50.1 seconds, tying the Olympic record that Southern set in the semifinals. Southern is a member of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And in 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald, allegedly President John F. Kennedy's assassin, was shot and killed by Jack Ruby in Dallas City Jail while being transferred to the county prison. Ruby, a Dallas lounge operator, was tried and convicted for killing Oswald, but while waiting for a retrial, died in Dallas January 3rd, 1967, from a blood clot in his lungs. And finally, federal judge William W. Justice, what a name, ordered the Texas Education Agency to assume responsibility for desegregating public schools and to prohibit districts from assigning students to schools on the basis of race. All right. Wow, that was a long one. A lot happened on November 24th, and that was your Texas History Roundup for that day. I really appreciate you listening and tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Hope you have a great day, and you take care.
Well, there you have it. If you like our podcast, check us out at feedbandit.com. There you'll find awesome Texas First outdoors gear and apparel. Your purchase helps support the Bandits and keeps this podcast on the air, fighting for you and for Texas. Remember, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Until next time.